The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Raine Musñgi. Catch up with us on Business Brief. There seems to be no stopping the tariffs U.S. President Donald Trump promised to impose against Canada and Mexico. He says the 25% tariffs take effect this Tuesday. Trump's trade war is his response to what he calls the unacceptable flow of illegal drugs and illegal migrants into the U.S.
Tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day because that costs a lot of money.
In retaliation, Canada has also vowed to slap 25% tariffs on $150 billion worth of U.S. imports, while China has announced 10 to 15% tariffs on U.S. agricultural imports. Beijing is also sanctioning U.S. biotech, aviation, artificial intelligence, and marine engineering firms as China faces 20% or doubled levy on Chinese imports. China's Commerce Ministry also added 10 U.S. firms to China's unreliable entity list and 15 U.S. entities to an export control list effective today, Tuesday. Stocks slumped across Asia also Tuesday as investors braced for an imminent escalation in a global trade war with U.S. tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China set to go into effect within hours. Asia mirroring an overnight slump on Wall Street as Japan's Nikkei 225 index declined 1.9% Tuesday. Hong Kong's Hang Seng dropped 1.4% after rebounding in the previous session. Indonesia's Jakarta Stock Composite fell 1.1%, while Singapore's Straits Times Index lost 0.4%. South Korea's Kospi was largely unchanged after returning from a holiday. Investors turned sharply more risk-averse and concerned over the fallout for the U.S. economy, particularly amid a run of soft data in recent weeks.
I guess traditionally America is recognized as the bellwether of the global economy. Well, to be honest, they are the largest economy in the world, and they always have, political power to a very large extent. That's why, the traditional dominance of the world makes them think that they could introduce tariffs on a range of products from a range of countries. Yeah, so the trade tensions between the U.S. and China would have broader implications for global trade networks and economic policies because other countries, for example, those in Asia close to China or who are allies of the United States, they could be affected by the ripple effects of these tariffs and countermeasures. For example, when there are tariffs, it could impact the prices of goods from China, which could have flow-on effects to countries that are neighbors of China. First, I think the direct impact would be on the companies, the business in China, and also the consumers and business in the United States, because they are the two parties directly involved in this trade war. But on the other hand, it will have indirect impact on other countries. For example, we've discussed allies of the United States, which means China may take countermeasures, to actually then impose tariffs on countries that are allies of the United States.
Well, cryptocurrency Bitcoin also backpedaled after an early rise following U.S. President Trump's weekend proposal for a national strategic reserve of cryptocurrencies. Traders are looking for more signs on when Trump's January executive order on digital assets would create a stockpile of currencies, including Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. Analysts are looking to the U.S. economy for further direction.
My concerns about the interest rate scenario are largely tariff-related. I think the tariff scenario is definitively an inflationary aspect to what can happen within the economy and the market. But broadly speaking, I don't think we've really gotten to the point where the Fed has completed their task, and they'll admit that themselves. So to the point where we need to see continued decline in the inflation picture, we need more things to happen for the economy to feel robust enough to be able to weather any storms. Right now, what I'm seeing is and hearing is a little bit of a stagflation concern.
Well, Chinese manufacturers reported an uptick in orders in February as importers rushed to beat higher U.S. tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump, as a Chinese state media report said that Beijing considered ways to retaliate. The BBC reports, though, that China's finance ministry has already announced 15% tariffs on some agricultural imports, including chicken, wheat, corn, and cotton. Beijing also slapped 10% tariffs on other produce such as soybeans, pork, beef, fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. The Global Times, a newspaper of China's ruling Communist Party, said Monday that Beijing was studying both tariffs and non-tariff moves to counter Trump's higher tariffs. This comes ahead of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or CPPCC, on March 4 to the 10th. Despite the challenges, Beijing expects a full-year 2025 GDP of 5%, confident of its high-quality development in the future.
Meanwhile, we are soberly aware of the profound and complex changes in the internal and external environment, and that China's economy is facing some difficulties and challenges, with consumer demand still insufficient, and risks and hidden dangers in some areas still awaiting resolution. But more importantly, we must see that China's economy enjoys a solid foundation, multiple advantages, strong resilience, and great potential. The underlying conditions and basic trend of its long-term growth remain unchanged.
The world's largest contract chip maker, TSMC, plans to make an additional $100 billion investment in the United States and build 5 additional chip factories in the coming years. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company announced the plan in a meeting at the White House with President Trump. TSMC CEO C.C. Wei announced on Monday the Taiwanese semiconductor giant that the capital infusion would boost domestic production and make the U.S. less reliant on semiconductors made in Asia, and made in addition to a major prior investment announcement. TSMC agreed in April to expand its planned U.S. investment by $25 to $65 billion and to add a third Arizona factory by 2030.
Having these semiconductor chips made on U.S. soil is really, really important, because the chips we get from Taiwan, they're always at risk. The Chinese decided that they were going to invade Taiwan. If we don't have access to those chips, we could lose a lot of our economy in a year. The estimates are upwards of 10% if we did not have access to semiconductor chips from TSMC. So that's a national security risk. Clearly makes us the hub of semiconductor manufacturing in the United States. And it's not only TSMC, it's Intel as well. And then all the renewable energy jobs that were created because of the Inflation Reduction Act. So we're becoming a big tech, sector. My hope is someday we compete with Silicon Valley as the best place in tech to do business. The hardware will be here. Data centers are looking at Arizona for artificial intelligence. And we're just rapidly growing that economy in Arizona, I'd say faster than anywhere else in the country.
So TSMC, they have 65% of the world's market share in chips. So they make chips from iPhones to chips that fuel AI, TVs, everything, pretty much every electronics thing that we touch. TSMC has some piece of that, and they manufacture.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country needs security guarantees for real and lasting peace, a crucial step in ending the 3-year war with Russia. In his Monday evening address, Zelensky emphasized the need for diplomacy following a weekend meeting with European allies to discuss a possible peace framework. This comes just days after his contentious talks with U.S. President Trump at the White House, which ended without a clear resolution. Meanwhile, the U.S. has paused all military aid to Ukraine while Trump announced he will provide an update on the proposed Ukraine minerals deal Tuesday night, a development that could influence future trade and investment decisions. Gold and crude are relatively flat amid the developments in the last trade. On the lighter side, a rare Banksy artwork hand-painted by the elusive street artist and owned by U.S. musician Mark Hoppus heads to auction Tuesday with a price estimate of up to $6 million. Crude oil Vetriano is Banksy's reimagining of the 1992 painting The Singing Butler by Scottish artist Jack Vetriano, whose death was announced Monday. It depicts Vetriano's butler serenading a dancing couple on a beach with Banksy, in addition to the sinking oil liner and two figures in hazmat suits moving a barrel of toxic waste in the background. The painting, bought by the co-founder of pop-punk rap band Blink-182, Hoppus, and his wife Sky in 2011, is being offered at Sotheby's London Modern and Contemporary Evening Auction with an estimate of $3.8 to $6.4 million US dollars.
A Banksy of this kind is incredibly rare to come to market. It is entirely hand-painted. It was first exhibited in his landmark exhibition in Notting Hill in 2005, which really propelled him into the public sphere. It's rare for a work of this quality to come to market, and this one really has all the best ingredients. A fabulous owner, it's hand-painted, impeccable exhibition history, and its subject is more urgent now than ever before. Banksy chose to remix Vetriano's The Singing Butler from 1992 because, like Banksy, you have a really, really popular artist that is loved by the masses and appreciated by many, but for whatever reason, he was snubbed by the art world. It's hard to find Vetriano's works in major museum collections, and due to all the commercial reproductions, there was something about Vetriano's works that was not invited into the fold of the art world, and that is something that draws parallels with Banksy.
Coming up in punk rock, it was always the ethos that if your band got any success, you brought your friends up with you. You know, the only reason that Blink-182 was able to even get a toehold touring was because all these other punk rock bands that we looked up to took us on tour. And when we got big, we tried to bring our friends with us. So with this art sale, I hope to take some of the money and put it back into the art community with up-and-coming artists that we're inspired by, and just continue that. I said I want to be a punk rock Medici.
Hoppus said part of the sale proceeds would go to medical charities and the California Fire Foundation. The rest will buy them new art. Telecom's biggest annual gathering opened its doors on Monday and is expected to draw 100,000 visitors hungry for new products, gadgets, and the latest innovations in mobile connectivity. The MWC, organized by London-based industry trade body GSMA and hosted in Barcelona since 2006, attracts around 2,700 global communication technology providers. Companies showcasing their products include Meta, Netflix, Samsung, Google, Cisco, Xiaomi, Huawei, and Microsoft. Organizers hope to exceed last year's 101,000 visitors with a strong focus on cutting-edge developments in 5G and AI. AI, coupled with high-speed 5G systems and its integration into daily lives, continues to draw attention, as do legislative and ethical concerns. At least one AI expert predicted a dramatic transformation in the accessibility and capabilities of artificial intelligence.
AI is truly going to be for all. It's not a few big companies that are going to dominate everything. No, even today it's not clear whether they are going to be very profitable by, selling AI services. No, the great profiteur of AI is going to be the little man, and AI will be 1,000,000 times better for the same price 30 years from now, and everybody is going to profit greatly from that. The largest part of AI research, 95% of AI research, are really about making human lives longer and easier and healthier, because these companies want to sell you something, and you are going to buy only stuff where you think it's good for you. So there is a tremendous commercial pressure towards good AI.
The Mobile World Congress saw thousands of attendees navigating through the exhibition halls, engaging with cutting-edge mobile and AI-powered technologies, including Google's AI Gemini stand, attracting visitors interested in the new advancements. Among major phone makers, Huawei showcased its new tri-foldable phone, the Mate XT Ultimate, highlighting advancements in flexible screen technology.
So we have the Mate XT Ultimate design, which was originally launched in China in September of last year. And we actually had a global launch for this in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, just last month. This is basically the first tri-fold smartphone that you can buy commercially. Actually get a much, much better experience, twice the experience that you get from a standard foldable device. And then I can also take it like this and put it into my pocket.
Business and economy news from around the country in a moment. Business Brief will be back. Stay with us.
Good morning, I'm Mikey Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers.
This week we saw the S&P 500 make a new historic high.
Connect the dots.
They withdrew from the World Health Organization.
And give you the developments and insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Real Corporation is funding artificial intelligence and data science research at the University of the Philippines.
Business 360, hosted by Mikey Oreta.
Keep it here on BNC,
the Bilyonaryo News Channel. At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break. We're always ready to give you the latest news, even at noon.
And those are the news this hour. Here at home, the Commission on Elections assures the Public Attorney's Office files new complaints. NGCP assures the public its Chinese investors are no threat.
Join Maya Rodriguez, delivering fresh news for you. News feed at noon.
Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Welcome back to Business Brief. The Bureau of Internal Revenue lauds the Justice Department for filing charges against Hillmark Construction over alleged ghost receipts. Our correspondent Soo-Jin Kim joins us on the line for details. Soo-Jin, go ahead.
Yes, Raine, the Bureau of Internal Revenue commended the Department of Justice for filing charges against Hillmark Construction Corporation for using ghost receipts to evade paying taxes worth 176 million pesos. According to BIR Commissioner Romeo Lumagui Jr., this legal action is part of the agency's crackdown on tax fraud under its Run After Fake Transactions program. In addition to possible imprisonment, Hillmark must pay the full amount of unremitted taxes to the government. The BIR's campaign against fraudulent transactions is part of its broader efforts to ensure fair and honest tax-paying practices. Meanwhile, right now, we're in Quezon City, where the BIR is recognizing the top celebrity taxpayers, including Catriona Gray, Ding Dong Dantes, and Kim Chu. And those are the latest updates for now. Back to you, Raine.
Thank you so much for that report, Soo-Jin Kim. The country's manufacturing sector expanded at its slowest pace in 11 months. The PMI dropped to 51 last month from 52.3 in January. This marks the lowest level since the 50.9 index in March 2024. S&P attributes the slowdown to weaker expansions in output and new orders. Surging electricity demand due to extreme heat could strain the power grid. That warning from Energy Secretary Rafael Lutilia. He projects peak demand to reach nearly 15,000 megawatts in Luzon, over 3,000 megawatts in the Visayas, and more than 2,000 megawatts in Mindanao. These levels are higher than last year's peak. Bilyonaryo now urges companies and households to practice energy conservation. The 2-year rehabilitation of EDSA, the country's most critical transport corridor, will have wide-ranging effects on businesses, supply chains, and economic activity. The work set to begin on the northbound bus lane by March 24th, followed by an 18-month southbound project. Companies relying on road transport, retail foot traffic, and daily commutes will need to adapt to potential delays and higher operating costs.
Para po mabilis nga yung ating trabaho at matapos kaagad, we requested MMDA to allow us to work 24/7. Kaya po lahat ng ating mga contractors ay mag-start sila ng sabay-sabay, especially dun sa southbound dahil may 15 segments po tayo. Unlike dito sa northbound, 1 segment lang.
A reinforced EDSA could eventually reduce vehicle maintenance costs, improve traffic flow, and boost productivity, making it easier for goods, services, and employees to move efficiently. However, in the near term, logistics expenses may rise, delivery timelines could lengthen, and businesses along the corridor may see lower foot traffic and sales. With the project expected to span multiple holiday seasons and peak business periods, companies will need to rethink operations, adjust delivery routes, and manage costs. The challenge now is ensuring that the transition is managed smoothly with minimal disruption to economic activity. Senate President Francis Escudero expresses frustration over the underperformance of the country's mining sector, saying its full economic potential remains untapped. Hannah T. has the details.
The Philippines is rich in mineral resources, but Senate President Chis Escudero says the country is not maximizing its potential. During a hearing of the Senate Committee on Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change, Escudero questioned why many mining permits remain inactive. Despite the country's wealth in minerals, the mining sector contributes less than 1% to GDP, standing at only 0.7%.
Discretion always equals corruption para sa akin. Kaya hiniling ko sa DNR, tanggalin yung areas of discretion kaugnay nito.
45 out of 150 exploration permits are active and valid. 105 remain inactive. The committee has yet to summon mining companies, but initial findings reveal that only a small portion of approved exploration permits are being utilized. An exploration permit allows companies to survey an area for mineral potential before actual mining operations begin. When it comes to mineral production sharing agreements or MPSAs, which allow mining operations in exchange for a revenue share with the government, the numbers are similar. 248 out of 378 MPSAs are active. 130 remain unused. Escudero says this delays economic gains from mining, including government revenue and job creation. He reminds companies that mineral resources belong to the state, not private entities.
Pues sorry, hindi nila pribadong pagmamayari yan. That is owned by the state. Under the Constitution, all mineral deposits are owned by the state.
Escudero wants the DNR to review its regulations. He says legislation is not needed. A department order or memorandum circular would be enough to fix the issue.
You are correct. The proper regulations are required, and this is going to be the start of reviewing all our regulations, followed by imposing technical expertise on the ground.
The Senate committee will resume its investigation in April. Hannah T., Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Philippine shares resumed trading in positive territory for a second day. The main index finishing the day higher to 60.64, bucking the regional decline and outperforming Asia. This comes ahead of the Philippine inflation reading. The February inflation print, set for release tomorrow, March 5th, is expected to show a further decline. Mining, property, and financials led Tuesday's rally with some conviction as advancers edged out decliners 107 to 84. Value turnover was 6.9 billion pesos after yesterday's bargain hunting surge. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso is currently trading at 57.81 to the greenback, stronger than Monday's close of 57.90 as markets digest tariffs from the U.S. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you find your next big, bold moves in business, only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on time.